Hello everyone, myself Abhishek Padul and I am a cybersecurity researcher and trainer. In today's session, we are going to see a new topic that is vulnerability assessment. You might be knowing that in ethical hacking, there are five phases: information gathering, which is also known as recon, scanning, gaining access, maintaining access, and clearing the tracks. So, from all these five phases, the vulnerability assessment comes in the phase of the scanning. So, we will be seeing it in more deeper in today's session. So we conduct the scanning of various systems, networks, and web application. So during scanning, we find multiple flaws and security weaknesses, and vulnerability assessment is all about identifying those security weaknesses, prioritizing them, and prioritizing them on basis based on the impact score that impact they can cause to the system. So this is basically the vulnerability assessment in which we identify, prioritize the vulnerabilities according to their impact. So let me show you the official definition of vulnerability assessment. So vulnerability assessment is a crucial process in ethical hacking that is aimed at identifying, quantifying, and prioritizing the vulnerabilities in a system. So this is the official definition of vulnerability assessment. That is the process in which we aim to identify, quantify, and prioritize the vulnerabilities that are found in a system, might be a system, a network, or a web application, or some other organizational assets. So this is the basic understanding of vulnerability assessment. So now we will see why vulnerability assessment is important. So let me explain with you a scenario that imagine you are responsible for securing a company's network means and you don't know where the weak points are in the network or system or web application. So to identify that security gaps before the attacker could exploit those security vulnerabilities, so for this, the vulnerability assessment is very much important. So basically in system, network and web application, various security vulnerabilities exist, and to identify those, we have to means undergo a thorough vulnerability assessment to identify those weak point and patch them before attackers could exploit those security flaws. So now we will see how this vulnerability assessment is different from penetration testing. So vulnerability assessment and penetration testing has several differences. That is, vulnerability assessment focuses on identifying the security flaws and providing the list of vulnerabilities. Means it completely identifies it completely is the process of identifying the security flaws and providing the list of those flaws and prioritizing those flaws based on the CVSS score. But penetration testing is the complete process of a security audit, what we call in general language. Penetration testing is a complete security audit of various organizational assets like it might be a web application, a mobile application, a network, a system, a server. So penetration testing is a complete security audit, but vulnerability assessment is a process of identifying and classifying the security vulnerabilities. But in penetration testing, we physically exploit the sorry physically exploit the vulnerabilities and see that these vulnerabilities are uh, can be exploited by the attacker, and we patch them before they are exploited. So, and in simple language, penetration testing also has six phases. So from that six phases, the third phase is itself vulnerability assessment. So we can say that vulnerability assessment is a subset of penetration testing. So this will give you a very good idea and difference, explain the difference between the vulnerability assessment and penetration testing. So whenever we do vulnerability assessment, we are undergo some methodologies. So these is the key phases of vulnerability assessment methodologies. First, we plan and scope. Then we scan and identify. In planning and scoping, we identify the objective of the vulnerability assessment, that what exactly is the client expecting from us. And in scanning, we scan the web application or the system or the network with the help of some automation tools to find the vulnerabilities in it. Yeah, and in analysis and prioritization, we prioritize the vulnerabilities on the CVSS score, severity, and its impact on the networks and the organizational assets. And then in the report and remediation, we means mitigate those vulnerabilities by applying the patches. So this is the basic flow. And whenever a vulnerability is a new vulnerability is discovered, and it is assigned a CVE, so we will look into that also. So here it is, CVE. CVE stands for Common Vulnerability and Exposures, Common Vulnerabilities and Exposures. So this is the entire database, that is CVE is the list of a publicly disclosed information security vulnerabilities and exposures. Means these are publicly disclosed vulnerabilities. So whenever we discover a vulnerability in vulnerability assessment, once the vulnerability is not straight away disclosed to the public platforms, first the vulnerability is patched, and after patching that vulnerability, the CV ID is assigned to it, that security flaw, and then the CV ID, and then the vulnerability is exposed in a public platform. So, and that vulnerability or that flaw is identified with the help of that CV ID given to that flaw. So it is assigned a CV identifier, which makes it easier to share information across the different security tool and database. So this CV ID is simply ID like this, CVE hyphen 2023 1234, means here 2023 stands for the year in which the vulnerability has been discovered. CV has been assigned, and this is a simple random ID assigned to that vulnerability. Like here, CVE 2023 12345, it might refer to a specific buffer overflow vulnerability, which is a in a popular web server software. So it is a CV ID assigned to a buffer overflow vulnerability. So this is a CVE. Now we will see the CVSS. CVSS stands for Common Vulnerability Scoring System. So this is a standard system for scoring the vulnerability and understanding its impact. So whenever the vulnerability is discovered, it has some impact on the system or the asset. So to understand the level of destruction or the impact that vulnerability can cause to the asset is measured by the CVSS score. So CVSS score is also has some versions like CVSS version 3.0, CVSS version 4.0. This 4.0 is the latest version, and 3.0 is now currently used on a large scale. So it is measured in 3.0, it is measured in the scale of 10, that is from 0 to 0.1 to 3.9. It is a low severity vulnerability. 4.0 to 6.9 is a medium severity vulnerability. 7.0 to means 8.9 is a high severity vulnerability. and 9.0 to 10 score is given to a critical severity vulnerability. So this is a scoring system for CVSS. It also has some official website that you can also visit to see it. So this is the CVE database. Here you can search any CVE ID and get information about that vulnerability. And it is the entire database you can access it. And about CVSS, Common Vulnerability Scoring System. Here you can calculate the vector of the CVSS, like attack vector, attack complexity, and etc. That what attack vector is used, what effect the vulnerability will cause on the CIA, that is confidentiality, integrity, and availability factor. So it is decided by that means matrix that you can see here is CVSS 3.1 calculator. So here the confidentiality, integrity, and availability factor is given. So as much as impact, as large impact of vulnerability on CIA triad increases the severity score of the vulnerability. So the major disruption you make in exploit these factors, higher will be the impact of the vulnerability. So this is the standard that is assigned to give the severity score or the impact score to the vulnerability. Now next is the CWE. CW is common weakness enumeration. Common weakness enumeration. So CVE is the category system for software weakness and vulnerability. Unlike CVE, which focus on a specific instance of the vulnerability, CWE focus on the entire class of the vulnerability. Means in CVE we focus on a specific vulnerability. Like here I mentioned that the vulnerability related to buffer overflow in a popular web server software, and CWE focuses on entire category of the vulnerability. Let me explain further with an example. Like here you can see CWE are organized in hierarchical manner. Like CWE 119 is a buffer overflow in category of entire buffer overflow. Means for all vulnerabilities that come under the category of buffer overflow is assigned the ID CWE 119. So this is common weakness enumeration. Like the next example is CWE 79. It refers to all the vulnerabilities that come under the XSS, that cross-site scripting, common web application vulnerability. It is the entire class. So like OAuth top 10, we also have CWE top 10, top 25, sorry. So here is the CWE top 25. These are the top 25 categories of the vulnerability, like out of bound write, after use, after free. These are the top 25 categories of the vulnerability. Now we will see some practical examples of vulnerability assessment. So there are various vulnerability assessment tools which is to run the vulnerability scans. So what type of scan we can run on the means a vulnerability scanner. So first is a network scan. You can scan the network of the networking asset, that is web application scan. Next is web application scan, database scan. Web application scan is very much some tools that is used for scanning the web applications. You can use like a Nessus. Uh, Next is Qualys scanner. So these are the web application scanning tools. Now for the user, so the tools I mentioned is some are the paid tools. So for the users who are not willing to use the paid tools, The means for there is a Nmap. So with the help of Nmap also you can do the vulnerability assessment scanning, vulnerability scanning. So in Nmap there are NSC, that is Nmap scripting engine. So it has various NSC files. So with the help of the Nmap script scan, you can also do vulnerability scanning. Vulnerability scanning, analysis, and assessment are run hand in hand. So these three are so very much relating terms. So you can use for vulnerability scanning. Next is, now I will show you the infamous vulnerability assessment tool, that is Nessus. So Nessus is here I have conducted various scans. So let me show you a sample scan how it is done. So here I have scanned a Windows XP operating system. So this is the scan result it has generated after completing an advanced scan. So here are the I have identified vulnerabilities on it. So here you can see the pie diagram which has classified the vulnerabilities according to the CVSS severity. So there are 13 critical vulnerability, 3 high vulnerabilities. So here you can see the critical ones. Here it is. So here you can see the vector of the CVSS. This vector is very much important for vulnerability assessment. It tells us the CVSS score. Here the CVSS score is 7.3, which is high because it has impact based on the CVSS score. So here I will show you the most infamous vulnerability, that is Eternal Blue, which is present on the Windows 7. So the score of this vulnerability comes under the high severity vulnerability because you might be knowing that with this we can take the direct RC of the system. So it has a high effect on confidentiality, high effect on integrity, and high effect on availability. So this high effect has high effect on all the three elements of the CIA triad, has increased its severity to high, and has increased its means impact score, which is 9.7, I guess. So this is how we use, and let me show you that how can you run a scan with the help of this Nessus. So here you have to go and generate a new scan. Here there are various type of scan like basic network scan, advanced scan, web application test scan, mobile device scan. So you have to click on any option you like. You have to name the scan and you have to enter your target here, and that's it. Yeah, you can do means various settings here, assessments, reports, advanced, and you can save the scan here and just click here on the launch button, and your scan will be ready, and it will give you means a very much sophisticated results that will help you. Another example for vulnerability scanning tool is Qualys. So this is a Qualys. Qualys has two versions. First is a cloud. Second is a community edition. So this is the community edition which I am using. So let it load completely. So it is having something issue. So let it be. So this is the Nessus scanner. So here are the free and enterprise tools for vulnerability assessment like Nmap scripting engine, Nessus experts and essential, Qualys VMDR community edition, Acunetics, and some enterprise tool like Nexpose, Insight VM. These tools are paid tools, but they also include vulnerability management within them. With vulnerability assessment, they also foster vulnerability management. So that's it from my side in today's lecture. Thank you for your patient listening.